When both people choose silence simultaneously, when neither reaches out, despite whatever feelings might exist beneath the surface, a unique psychological standoff begins. The avoidant goes no contact because it feels safer than vulnerability, protecting themselves from potential rejection in the discomfort of admitting they care. You go no contact because you have reached your limit, choosing self-preservation over continuing to pursue someone emotionally unavailable. This mutual silence creates a specific sequence of events that unfolds predictably, driven by the psychological patterns each person brings to the dynamic. What happens next is not random, but rather the inevitable result of two conflicting attachment styles, choosing distance over resolution. Phase 1. Relief and validation. Initially, both people experience their own version of relief. The avoidant feels the immediate pressure of intimacy lift. No more expectations to meet. No more emotional demands to navigate. No more guilt about their inability to show up consistently. They interpret the silence as confirmation that space was the right choice, that the relationship was too much, that they are better off without the complication. Meanwhile, you experience relief of a different kind. The exhausting cycle of pursuit and rejection has ended. You are no longer organizing your emotional state around someone's inconsistent availability. The silence feels like reclaiming power, like finally choosing yourself after months of choosing someone who could not choose you back. For both people, this initial phase can last days or weeks, with each person convinced they made the right decision and that the silence validates their choice. Phase 2. The diverging internal experience. As time passes, the internal experiences begin to diverge dramatically. The avoidant continues in their pattern of suppression and distraction. They fill their time, they focus on other things, they convince themselves they are fine. If they think about you at all during this phase, it is in passing, without the emotional intensity that might compel them to break the silence. Their defensive structure is operating at full capacity, protecting them from feelings they are not ready to process. But your experience is different. You begin to heal actively. You process what happened. You recognize the patterns that kept you stuck. You work through the pain of investing in someone who could not reciprocate. The silence for you is not suppression, but space for genuine growth. While the avoidant is avoiding, you are evolving. This divergence is critical because it means that even though both people are in no contact, they are moving in completely opposite directions psychologically. Phase 3. The delayed avoidant realization. Eventually, often months later, the avoidant's defenses begin to erode. The suppressed feelings start to surface. They begin to miss you, not in the abstract, but concretely. They replay memories. They recognize what they lost. They feel the absence in ways they could not access initially. This delayed emotional response is characteristic of avoidant attachment. But here is the crucial difference. When they finally feel ready to reach out, when the longing becomes strong enough to overcome their fear, they encounter your silence. And your silence is no longer the same as their silence. Your silence is not suppression. It is boundary. It is the result of genuine healing that has moved you beyond the point where the return would be welcome. The avoidant realizes too late that the window for reconnection has closed, not because you are playing games, but because you have genuinely moved on. Phase 4. The permanent standoff or awkward reconnection. Two outcomes are possible from this mutual no contact. The first is permanent standoff. Neither person reaches out. Time continues to pass. The silence becomes permanent, not through conscious choice, but through inertia. Both people move forward with their lives, and the relationship becomes a closed chapter, a lesson learned, a story of what could have been if timing and emotional availability had aligned differently. The second possibility is that one person, usually the avoidant in their delayed realization, breaks the silence. But the response they receive is not what they hoped for. You have healed. You have boundaries. You are not the same person who would have accepted their return months ago. The reconnection is awkward, stilted, marked by the reality that too much time has passed and too much growth has occurred for things to simply resume. The avoidant discovers that going no contact was a gamble, and they lost. Why mutual? No contact rarely leads to reunion. When both people choose silence, it creates a dynamic where reunion becomes statistically unlikely. The avoidant needs time to process feelings they initially suppress, but that time allows the other person to heal and establish boundaries that make reconnection undesirable. By the time the avoidant is ready, the other person has moved beyond readiness into genuine disinterest. The mutual no contact becomes a tragic misalignment where both people wanted connection, but on incompatible timelines. And the silence that was meant to create space for clarity instead created permanent distance that neither person can fully bridge, even if they eventually try.